I'm going to start so we can get through. There is a seat at the front which I think someone's grab, which is good. So, good morning, my name's Carl Graves, Managing Director of Berkley Technical Services. I've got half an hour to go through a presentation, but what presentation should take no more than about 20 minutes. Then hopefully open up and see if there are any questions, queries, and have a general chat around where we're going to go with mobile strategy. The presentation is mainly about creating a workable mobile strategy and some of the fundamentals behind that. So it's a matter of, if I ask people in the room how many of you have got an IT strategy, I can pretty much guarantee every hand will go up. If I ask how many have got a mobile strategy, there'd be a few that go up a bit cautious. And part of the reason behind that is mobile is a pain that IT didn't want. I would put something a lot worse in there, but it is actually true. Most people from an IT perspective do not want the mobile situations they've got today. It was a pain, it's something that's come along, it's something that someone else dealt with in your organisation. Generally finance, if you didn't have a telecoms team that dealt with mobile specifically. Just a few examples of that, and I'm not going to throw numbers at you all presentation. There's 2 slides and I'm going to get through them as quickly as possible because I hate putting numbers up on the board. But in 2012, only 31% of their enterprise team, IT team, owned the mobile relationship. So that was when you were dealing with the carriers and you were working with them from an IT perspective. Even worse on that, only 15%, and this is in 2012, had mobile devices that were managed by an MDM that weren't BlackBerry. So that's the iPhones, the Androids, the tablets that were coming into the business. And pretty much everyone in 2012 still had tablets and mobile devices that were non-BlackBerry that had no management in them at all. So let's talk about the original mobile strategy, or as we call it, a compromise. And it was pretty much a compromise because what actually happened is the carrier would come into your business. They'd look to you and they'd talk to you about a carrier-led deal. So they specifically would be going in and speaking to you about the SIM card. From the SIM card, they'd talk to you about the mobile device and how important the mobile device is, and more importantly, the exclusivity of those devices into your business. The fact is, it wasn't exclusive, it was the fact that they only had a limited stock of devices. They can't go out there and provide every device in the world to you. And we'll go into the reason why behind that in a short while. But what they were talking about is that they had a specific type of Android that was great for your business, and it was the perfect device for your business. The problem is you can only buy it from them, so you need to buy your SIM card from them too. And then they'd come along in about 2012, and this is where it's really started for an MDM platform, is though you had the original products, so the BlackBerry that everyone is aware of, and good technologies that supported non-BlackBerry devices as well as BlackBerry devices out there in your environment. But that wasn't really a great user experience. So a new range come out, so your Mobile Irons, your AirWatches, your Maz 360s come around, and they started pushing them in. The issue you had with that is when you went with a carrier-led deal, you had AirWatch if you were on Vodafone. You had Mobile Iron if you were on Orange. You had Good, again, occasionally on Vodafone. BlackBerry, yes, you could provide that across the whole workforce and through any carrier. But the problem was your workforce didn't want a BlackBerry anymore. It wasn't cool to have. It wasn't that jewelry that you wanted in a boardroom. They wanted an iPhone. They wanted something that was out there. The main purpose on that is there's still something missing. It's something that you need to look at. And I know everyone's going, yeah, apps. It's got to be apps. Actually, it wasn't apps. It's your infrastructure. No carrier ever come into you and spoke to you about your infrastructure. They're interested in the SIM card, the device, and maybe some MDM. You actually need to look at that the other way around. You need to put your infrastructure first. The email, yes, off the back of it, PIM, it's been around for years. Since 2001, when the first BlackBerries come into the UK via O2, you could provide PIM information. But more importantly, was getting those applications, your ERP, your CRM, with this SAP, content management for law firms, actually into the hands of your users. And BlackBerry would do that to a point, but it wouldn't actually provide you that necessarily in the old style. So the key important area when you actually come to IT and a mobile strategy is your infrastructure and not working the other way around. Coming through is then tuning those devices. So now we know you've got your infrastructure and we know what applications and what back-end systems you need to get into your devices. How do you now leverage that into the hands of your employment, making those workforce enabled? So you look at the MDM solutions, and there's not one out there at the moment that will tick every single need you have. They'll take 95% of your security or 100% of your security, but they won't give you the asset management you require. They won't give you the tracking that you require if they do your asset management, but not security. And then policy management. So look at your business and see, right, these are the applications, the infrastructure we need to deliver. These are the roles within our business. So you may set out that there's 10 or 11 different roles within your business. That's great, then work to those to create the policies and a strategy around that before you come to mobilising your strategy. Now, iOS, Android and BlackBerry is what we've put up there. Because the devices, when it comes to Android, last year there was 12,482 different versions of Android. It's not device, different versions of Android in the market. So the BYOD that everyone comes along and says how wonderful it is, you can't allow BYOD when there's nearly 13,000, and probably will be this year, over 13,000 different variants that you need to support and manage. Even to the point that a single Samsung device will have 6 variants of Android in the UK depending on the network that it's on. So every network will change, will move and will play with that back-end application and iOS. So you need to be aware of which ones you're going to provide and how you can support those. And whether they actually support, more importantly, the applications you're looking for and can leverage through your MDM solution or EMM solution, the back-end infrastructure you have in place. Moving forward, Windows is one that's come on there. It's not on that form at the moment. The reason we're not on there at the moment is because it's very, very limited support. Going into early next year when the roadmap for the main 5... Come on. When you come through and you've got the main infrastructure coming through with the MDM solutions roadmaps, we'll have Windows 8.1 predominantly on there because of the APIs and the processors around it. So at the moment, Windows is quite hard to support. It's a specific device on a specific MDM, but in the future that will be changing, so it will be all devices across all MDMs. The last bit, enabling that strategy, is a SIM card. It should be seen exactly as that. If we had Wi-Fi across the UK now, you wouldn't need a SIM card in any of your devices. There's the correct software out there and applications out there to allow phone calls, to allow data through Wi-Fi. So the SIM card should be literally seen as an enabler of that device. It should be the cheapest part of your product. It should be the one that you go to the network and say, all I need is a SIM card with this amount of minutes and this data and infrastructure. Or pass them your bills and say that's what I want that as cheap as possible. All the networks will fight, absolutely fight, of getting that SIM card because that's what they're based on. They will tell you they can give you MDM solutions free of charge and they can do this and they can do that, but is that MDM solution specific to your needs? So if you go back to them and say, right, this is what I need, I've got everything else backwards, I need a SIM card, then you can actually go out there and get the quality that you need. And it also then brings it down to when you go and put it on a different bill, so for instance through Redcentric, it's a bill that's just pushed on through to there. It should be something that you don't necessarily think about and go around and spend a lot of time about. So making mobile strategy align with your IT strategy is something that we've been working with a lot of enterprise customers recently. It's the biggest area that we've done. It's probably the biggest growing area that we work with at the moment is the consultancy around that. And it's making sure that you prioritise the processes through. So when you go in as an IT, you don't go out and first and go, do you know what, I'm going to go and buy a switch. That's what I'm going to do when you start up a company. And then from that switch, I'm going to go and buy a desktop PC. And then actually, what can these now do to give me the infrastructure? Can I run SAP on them? Can I run my ERP? Can I run CRM on them? Oh, actually, no, I've made a mistake when I bought that switch because it's only a 10 megabit switch and it should have been a 100 megabit switch. And that's exactly the way the mobile compromise from the strategy point of view has been done in the past. Moving it around, turning it upside down and aligning it with your business and IT needs over generally a 12 to 18 month period is what we find. It's not something that you can do your next phone cycle. So, you know, my phone contract is up in 3 months' time, I'm going to go and sort it all out in one go, because you actually got to go and work on the applications in the background. Do they exist at the moment? If they don't exist, how can we get them? To be fair, 9 times out of 10 now the applications are in place. The secure workspaces, the content management infrastructure in the background for the EMMs is there, but it is worth checking. In some cases, especially if you have in-house applications, it won't be. Now, that's the brief of that over, I'm just going to show you a quick video that we have in place, and I'm going to try and time this right.
What is your mobile strategy based on? The best airtime deal at the time, or the real cost to your company? Most companies' mobile strategy consists of getting the best airtime deal they can, bagging the latest upgrade, bolting on the mobile device management software, and hammering the result into their IT infrastructure. Not really, when your largest investment is IT, and the mobile is just a small percentage of that. At Berkley, we put your biggest investment, your IT, first, working from there to give you results that are more stable and save you money. Berkley, the mobile integrators.
So that's the presentation about wow. Don't particularly like presentations with boards even though that's how it almost behaves. It almost, if I unplug it, it will definitely behave. So the questions are, is there actually any questions within the room about where you want to go with your mobility, the strategy that you currently have and where you see it aligned? That's what we're really here for to do, is to discuss and open up as a forum. I don't mind going through any of the specific points in greater detail, but every business that we come across is completely different in the way that their mobile is at the moment. So I can't come up here and give you literally the silver bullet that will solve your issues. Because when we go into a business, sometimes it is that literally someone else deals with the IT contract, that's great, I deal with the mobile, all I do is go to the network and I sign every 2 years. And that's our strategy. Others you go into and they're actually fairly down that road of getting the right infrastructure in. So is there any questions?
Yeah, I've got one.
Go for it.
13,000 Android variants,
Yep.
forks. Okay, BYOD's a reality.
Yes, it is.
Android's a reality.
Yep.
So how do you, or what's a good approach for cutting 13,000 down to a manageable number?
That is a great question. The way that we actually do that is give them the user's choice. So instead of a
Yeah,
BYOD, it's like a choose your own device. So you actually go out with a catalogue of products. So are you, with your bring your own device, are you actually saying that they've got to be on a specific network? Or does it matter?
That's the situation today.
Okay, so the reason why it's on a specific network...
But it's a SIM-only deal, so...
Yeah, that's fine. So with the network, you'll be limited to those Android devices that you can have anyway, unless they go to a literally...
No, it's not buying devices from the network. We're only buying airtime from the network.
Buying airtime. So we would suggest that you limit the users to 2 or 3 types of device. So if you went for Samsung, for instance, that gives you a different range of devices from £99 right the way up to the S5, which is £500 odd. iPhones, across the board.
Yeah, obviously iOS is a problem.
iOS is the problem. Android is the big problem. Then we suggest that you go to a manufacturer. So you say, we'd suggest you work with Samsung or HTC or open up. Where the problem becomes is when they go into the back, and generally with BYOD of a Sun newspaper, and they get a free Xbox at this time of year when they sign up to a new contract that gives them some Hawaii device. Because the Hawaii device is cheap, they're paying £48 for unlimited mobile data, the network can afford to give an Xbox away. Makes a great Christmas present. And that's where the issue are. So if you can restrict them or advise them to go down specific routes, that will help. The reason why Android is a specific problem is because you take away the device itself, they tamper in the background with it that stops some of the APIs working on an MDM. So you can actually go and route a Hawaii device and it won't register as rooted, which to a business is quite scary. Because you don't know what they are taking, what they're not taking off the device, and what applications they've got on there, as well as any licensing implications that could become to the business. It's not the easiest of questions, but it is a relevant and very good one to have.
So what about, I mean, this isn't my problem, but what about
Yep.
the same challenge, but if you were a university, say, and you had students,
Yep.
and you can't control what they buy, you've got no control, or it could be a customer
Yep.
actually, you could be deploying something into a customer,
To do that.
and you can't tell your customers you can only access our services through Samsung or
Yeah.
or whatever.
To go
Physical
through.
devices.
So you can restrict it on an MDM level what devices that you support. So even if they try to activate a device that's non-supported, it won't work, which is one way of doing it. With universities specifically, how we've done that before is we've actually arranged with the networks to do deals on certain devices which are accessible only through the university. So it does complicate, but those deals, when they see them being 20 or 30% cheaper than they will go and get from your local car phone warehouse, tends to then add up. So you'll get a majority of the students that will go through that point. Unfortunately, you will always get some that want that Hawaii device because the export it's just leading them through that way. Yeah. If they've already got an existing device, it's trying to support that in the best way. It is surprising if you go to large groups that you'll probably cover 90% of your devices will be with perfectly okay Android. It will be that 10% that have literally gone out and got the cheapest device to get the best deal on something else and works through, unfortunately.
And all this management technology is aimed at the 2% that don't do it right, isn't it? If everyone behaved perfectly, you wouldn't need any of this stuff.
It wouldn't be, yeah, it would be, unfortunately. And it's not necessarily the devices that are the problem, it's the actual users themselves and how they store data, where they push that data and mislay it. We've just come out with a customer on Friday where their biggest concern now is this new 5% on global tax if the device is lost. Because on their overall turnover, with the new data protection rules that are coming in later next year, I think it is, if a device is lost and any of that data is pushed in as public data, pushed into public, there's a 5% levy on global turnover. And they're a small company in the UK, but massive globally. And their concern is if one of their directors happens to lose a device in the UK, it's a 5% of global turnover.
It's a regulated business, is it?
Yes, it is regulated business.
That's right.
So if you're, I was going to say, regulated businesses, it is a concern, and that's where you really do need to have instead of having a BYOD policy, a CYOD policy, which is choose your own device. So you give them a good 8 or 9 devices to choose from that you know are working. It's still enough for people to think they've got a choice and they're not having a device shoved down their throat to push back on. Unfortunately, it is a world the same as, and it's a bit easier with desktops. You give them a desktop, you give them a laptop, and they're used to that. With a mobile, they're used to choosing what they want, when they want, and how they want to have it delivered. And that's the most important thing, is getting that information to them. Is there any other questions? Any follow-up on that?
How do you see products like Wandera fitting with MDMs?
Sorry,
How do you see products like Wandera fitting with MDMs?
Wandera is a good question because of the way that the product's due to work. How are you using it at the moment, or are you looking considering it? The way that we would suggest is that you work with the company that's supplying Wandera, which I should imagine is these guys, to actually make it pushed out from the MDM device. So as long as you can get the source files from Wandera, which I believe we can and we have, you'll be able to put that into an application management tool within the MDM and push that out so your mobile application is managed, so a man part of it, pushed to the device rather than going downloading. Alternatively, with the new MDM solutions, they're creating a corporate store internally. So you just load a corporate store. If your user wants to then pull that down, they can go to their store, there'll be a corporate area on their store, and it will pull that application for them and they can install it. Is that how you, from the management point of view, or actually?
Yeah, just thinking of marketplace as well. So, it's encroaching on MDM's patch.
Yep.
It's fighting for a different side of it. We can see consolidation there.
I think you will. There's a company in America at the moment, though, Tango. A lot of people don't. It's a Tango with an E rather than without the E, because there's 2 versions out there at the moment. And they're literally trying to do that at the moment. They're taking call recording, they're taking VoIP services, they're taking mobile device management and putting it into one solution. I think you'll find that's going to happen, and it's going to happen more. For instance, BlackBerry have just gone through and purchased MoVirtue, which is a multiple SIM company. You basically have one SIM card in it, it will give you multiple options on that SIM card. And that's to do a similar sort of process, so that when they make a call, depending on where you're roaming, it makes the least cost routing option.
That's a competitor to TruePhone in the UK.
Exactly the same as TruePhone.
Which may not work.
Yeah, to go through. The issue is they're then reliant on networks in each country to recognise the SIM card that they've got and allow it to work in that way. So it is going to vary, and I think there's going to be a lot of disruption in that environment. But where it's going, I don't think we'll really know for probably another 6 to 8 months. If MoVirtue gets the access work, the problem is MoVirtue as an individual business was working fine in the UK. As a global business, it doesn't work because they don't have the reach that someone like BlackBerry does. Now, BlackBerry bought them, they've got 654 carrier relationships that they can leverage. Virtue had 18, I believe it was, on a global scale. So it's got more of a chance of the fact that BlackBerry got it. The opposite side that BlackBerry got it is how long is it going to sit there, similar to when AirWatch was purchased by VMware, sit there and actually no product marketing, no product development has gone on. And that's been long, not quite as bad as when Zenprise was purchased by Citrix. There was an 18-month period there where they changed the name and that was pretty much all they'd done, which has left them behind the market. So it is going to be an interesting one to watch, but it all depends on the actual enterprise requirements and whether they can be pushed through. It's the same thing, if there's a lot of people requiring something, miraculously Apple, BlackBerry can turn around something very quickly. When there doesn't seem to be the need for it, it seems to take forever, especially when you're the company that does need it and no one else does. If that can help. Was there any further questions? I think we've got about 5 minutes left, so.
How do you see the MDM and the EMM market going? There's been a lot of consolidation, no one seems to be making any money.
Yeah.
Ourselves, we've been through probably 5 different MDMs in the past 8 years. Are we getting to the stage where we can settle on one and see some longevity in it?
I think consolidation is where you're right. Over the past, we've probably gone from about 10 to 14 main contenders, but now it's 5 or 6. I can see one of those potentially going out of business very soon, and I'm not going to go into too many names, but it's not the one that everyone thinks instantly, oh, they've had a bad time. Mainly because all 4 out of the 5 that were historic, 2 of them have been purchased, one by IBM, one by VM, so they're pretty much secure now. The other 2 have debt up to their eyeballs and have never made a profit. So Mobile Iron and Good, excess of 300 million, I believe, now in VC, capital into both of them. 300 million VC capital and not made a profit since started, never worked with VC. I've never known a VC to carry on liking to lose money and carrying on with that business in the background. So I think you're going to find that we'll probably have 3 or 4 of those businesses. I should imagine Mobile Iron or Good will be ripe for being taken over. The companies that currently don't have a system in place, Microsoft and Cisco, they're the main tier players that don't have an MDM player. So I think you will find consolidation of those. Microsoft are trying down the route of creating their own with Intune. I think it's going to be like CRM, where they come out with CRM 1, 2, 3. They go and buy, a few other products, put it in together, and they've got Dynamics, which is a good product. The problem with that is I don't think they have 3 years to create Intune into the business it needs to be, because everyone needs this product now, and they're going to go out, and you will want to get down to a point where you put something in, and you have a cycle with it of 3 to 5 years, not 18 months, because changing devices is great, but changing MDM in the background and all the applications and the way it works isn't so easy to do. So I think it will be consolidation. I think the main ones you'll have will be MAS 360, which is IBM, and they're now starting to leverage that a lot more. Citrix are coming up with Zen Mobile. You've got AirWatch, which is a VM product, BlackBerry obviously with the new BES 12, but the problem is none of those devices, or mobile device management systems, still tick every box that you want them to do. If security is your key area, you're always going to go BlackBerry, because that's where it is. The only problem with that is they're all going active sync. The problem with active sync is the security is wrapped around that, so you're then wrapping around another layer of security on something that's not brilliant in the first place. I think anyone that cracks that is at the moment BlackBerry. If it's device management across multiple devices and different variants, then you're looking at AirWatch and Mobile Iron at the moment. But I think there will be a lot of consolidation and change in that area. Douglas. Any other questions?
What is SOTI?
SOTI that is probably the hardest one to answer. SOTI's background is obviously device and desktop management before mobility management. They're coming along, they're doing it, they're still pushing out there. They're a very low priced product, so it looks attractive. There's some good reasons to have SOTI, but there's as many bad reasons from the security point of view. Most of the customers we talk to, especially at an enterprise level, when you are security conscious and very security conscious and don't really want to rely on active sync as being the main security in the background. However, if you're looking to push something out and just literally manage a device, it's fairly good. I think they're going to be becoming more of a IT management software than a specific mobile device management software. Any others? Done. Nice and quick and almost, yeah, just about on time. So thank you very much for turning up. Our details you've got on the screen, and Richard from Redcentric deals with all the mobility side of it. If there are any other questions or any meetings follow up that you'd like to have, please feel free to contact Richard or ourselves.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, good, thank you. Are you well?
Yeah.
How's it going?
Yeah, very good. I know, it's been a while.
Yeah. Richard, yes.
Yeah, I have. I've been released out.